Yo, what's up YouTube? It's Nick from Rise of Sports and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be doing a tier list of all of the NFL teams. I am recording this right before the Monday night game, or not right before, the day of the Monday night game on, what's today? December 12th is what day it is today. I know this might not be coming out for a week or two, but I wanted to at least do this. So this is like week 14 into 15, kind of where I see the teams and where I would rank them right now. I might do this a little also like at the end of the season. I might do this again, but this is kind of, I know it's not mid-season. It's kind of like almost over season, but I wanted to do this at least to give you all my takes of where each NFL team is, and I definitely will probably do this again. So without further ado, let's just get into it. All right, here we are. These are the tiers. I made these tiers, so this is not my own tier list, but this is by this person. You can go follow them on Twitter if you want. But I changed the names a little bit. I don't know why this is not in the middle, but you know, we're gonna just live with it. That looks terrible. Okay, so we have the different tiers. We have Super Bowl bound, on the bubble, above average, 500, below average, and terrible. So 6 different tiers. I'm not gonna try to get like 5 in each tier, something like that. I'm just gonna do based off what I think, where I think they are, and I'm going to pull up the rankings on my phone so I have those. So I'll be right back. All right, so I have the rankings now on my phone. So let's just get into it. The 49ers, as we stand right now, the 49ers are 9-4. I think this is updated. Yeah, this is updated. So 49ers are 9-4 right now. This is kind of, and I forgot to mention, this is kind of where I think they're going to be and where they are right now. Well, it's where they are right now. So like a 500 team is not going to necessarily be a team that is literally 500 right now. This is more a team where I think they're going to end up based on where they are right now, if that makes sense. So the 49ers, to me, I think they're Super Bowl bound. I think they have and Super Bowl bound, I guess, means they are like on their way to the Super Bowl. This doesn't mean they're going to make it. This is kind of like my Super Bowl bubble, not to be confused with on the bubble. This is on the bubble of being in the bubble. That makes sense. So the 49ers, I think, have the roster to get all the way to the Super Bowl. It's going to be tough, though. Debo just got hurt, and when I'm recording this, not sure what the extent of it is. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty serious. Brock Purdy, obviously, leading the way. Big win over the Bucks, and I just think they have the talent to get to the Super Bowl. It's going to be tough. There's a lot of good teams, but to me, they have the talent to be there. Going next with the Bears. The Bears right now are 3-10. They're not a terrible team, but they are definitely below average. They're not good. I will say they have flashes that some other teams that will be below them don't. And that's why I'm putting them below average. Justin Fields looks like he will be great in the NFL. And I can't put them in terrible because I don't think they are. I think they have chances to win each week, no matter if they do or not. Bengals right now, let's see, what are the Bengals? I think Bengals are 9-4, tied with the Ravens for the lead in the AFC North. The Bengals as well are Super Bowl bound. I think they have a great chance to make it there. They have a really good defense, but mixed with a ton of offensive weapons, and Joe Burrow, one of the probably top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. They are definitely Super Bowl bound as well. The Bills are also. So I don't know why all these teams are at the beginning, but I guess they're going alphabetical order, it looks like. So the Broncos are not the Broncos. I just looked at the Broncos. The Bills are Super Bowl bound. I believe they are a very talented team. Ton of weapons. Josh Allen in that same category as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Great offensive weapons, great defense. Von Miller's going to miss the whole year, but even with Von Miller out, they still have a ton of talent on that defense. I think they're Super Bowl bound. Broncos. The Broncos are terrible. They're my first terrible team. They are also 3-10, but they do not have a lot of weapons on this team. Like Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy are great receivers, but when you have a sucky offensive line and really a quarterback that has really regressed a lot, it doesn't really matter if you have 2 really good receivers. Like it can only take you so far. And this defense, they have talent. They have talent on this defense too. Patrick Surtain is one of the best corners in the NFL. You have a lot of decent role players on that defense as well. A lot of good defensive linemen, but they just can't get it together. And they played well against the Chiefs when they played them, but they're a terrible team. They're not good this year. And I'm not saying they can never be good. And I think next year, add in the right pieces, I think they will be. But right now they're a terrible team. The Browns, Browns are interesting. They're 5-8. I'm not going to call them a terrible team, but I'm going to call them below average. They have a ton of talent. Deshaun Watson obviously hasn't played in 2 years, but before he had all of his issues, he was a great quarterback. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, very talented running backs. Amari Cooper is a super talented receiver. And then you have Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. Like, this is a very talented team, but they're very below average just because they just haven't had the offensive line that they did last year. They haven't had Deshaun Watson the whole year, and now that Deshaun Watson's back, he's rusty. So anyway, that's what I think about the Browns. The Bucks I'm going to think they're around a 500 team. I don't think they're above average by any means. I think Tom Brady has kind of taken a little bit of a step back. I do think they could make the playoffs still. This is probably the only team in the 500 tier that I think could make the playoffs, but it's basically because of their division. That's what I have to say about them. Cardinals, let's see. What's the Cardinals record right now? 4-8. So obviously right now they're not going to get to 500 probably, unless they win out the rest of the year. But man, it's a tough team to rank because I think they're really talented. I think they're not below average. I think they're around that 500 tier. And 500 just means like you're basically is right at average is what that means. They're an average team. I mean, Kyler Murray is very talented. Hopkins is great. You have talented running backs, other talented receiver, Rondale Moore, Marquise Brown. Like, you have some talented players on this team and on the defense. Like, you have a lot of talent there, but they're just kind of average this year. This is the Chargers' first team I'm going to say above average. I don't think they're on the bubble of the Super Bowl this year, but I think they're above average team. I think they will sneak into the playoffs. The Chiefs obviously are Super Bowl favorites, one of the Super Bowl favorites this year. And I think they're a super talented team, and Patrick Mahomes is a big reason of that. I will say Tyreek Hill not being there I think will hurt them, and I don't think they'll make it back to the Super Bowl. But I think they're definitely one of the teams to watch out for. Colts are a terrible team. I'm sorry. Like, I've liked some of the things the Colts have done this year, but they are bad. Like, they're really bad. They don't have much talent at all. I mean, they really don't. Like, I think, and it's because of their quarterback play. It's just been really bad. Jonathan Taylor is a very good running back. You have Michael Pittman on the team. I think he's more of a number 2 receiver. I don't think he can be your number 1. As much as I love him, he's not your number 1. Defensively, you struggle a lot. I mean, this is definitely a better team than the Broncos, but they're still a terrible team. They're not good. That's just what it is. The Commanders, they're interesting. I'm going to put them in 500 because I think they have talent enough to make it close to the playoffs, but with the division they're in, it's just going to be impossible. There's no way they can get there. They're 7-5-1 right now. I mean, but then you have the Giants underneath them that are 7-5-1 also, that I think when I get to them, they're probably going to be in the 500 tier as well. And I don't think they're above average, but I think they're pretty average. They really are. I think they're a quarterback away again. I think a lot of these teams are, but them for sure. Cowboys, I think they're on the bubble. They're a really good team, but I just don't know that I trust this team in the playoffs. They don't really have a number 1 receiver. CeeDee Lamb's a beast, but he's not. I just don't think he's a number 1 receiver. Like, when you would think of number 1, you think of Justin Jefferson, Diggs, Devontae Adams. I don't know why my brain just didn't think of Devontae Adams. You think of Tyreek Hill. You think of Jamar Chase. People like that. But CeeDee Lamb, to me, is just in a little bit of a class below all those guys. And I think not having that talent at receiver is going to hurt them in the end. their defense is crazy good, but also their defense can give up at points. Like they just barely beat the Texans. So, they're on the bubble. They're close. Dolphins, another one that are very close. They're not quite on the bubble. I'm going to say they're above average. I don't think they're quite there. Tyreek Hill makes them super explosive offensively, and adding Bradley Chubb defensively helps a lot. They're just a little bit away. I'm not sure that Tua is the answer, and I know these teams get compared all the time. I think they're pretty comparable, though. They're both right there. Eagles, definitely Super Bowl contenders. I think they're bound to get to the NFC Championship game. And I think this is probably where I'm going to end my Super Bowl bound tier. I don't think there's any other team that deserves to be in this tier right now. These are all the teams that, to me, just resemble like, oh, I could see any of these teams in the Super Bowl and it wouldn't shock me. Eagles, obviously, strongest contenders to me. I mean, they just have looked stellar all year. They had one bad game against at that time a Commanders team that was playing really well, and they just got beat, and that was one game, and they might get beat again at some point the rest of the year. But to me, they're in such a high level right now. Falcons, they're terrible. I mean, they just are. Marcus Mariota not the answer. Desmond Ridder is going to start playing now. I like Patterson. I like Kyle Pitts. I like Drake London, but they're just not there. They just aren't. I mean, they just don't have enough talent on their roster. They're a terrible team right now. The Giants, I think they're actually above average. I like the Giants more than I like the Commanders. And the reason I say that, Daniel Jones has something to him, has some appeal to him. Saquon Barkley, obviously super talented. They've just been ridiculed with injuries this year. They've had so many injuries to their receivers, to a lot of different players. They have a really solid defense, though. I understand they have not looked good. They did not look good against the Eagles at all. But I like the Giants more than I like the Commanders, and that might be a hot take. Jags, they are below average. They're not bad. They really have some talent on their team, but it's just a little too early for them. Trevor Lawrence is finally looking like that franchise quarterback that you want. They just need some more receivers. They have Calvin Ridley once he is done with his suspension. That's going to help a ton. And I'm going to be interested to see next year how they do, because I think they might even have a chance at their division this year. But for sure next year, I think they have a really legit shot to make that. Jets are kind of a classic 500 team. They've had some really good games. They have a lot of talented players. I mean, look at their running backs. Their running backs have looked great, because you had Breece Hall went down with injury. He looked amazing. You have Michael Carter, who really has looked good. And then you have Zonovan Knight now, who is looking really good too. So they have a lot of talent at running back. Garrett Wilson, obviously a stud receiver. Elijah Moore is good. Corey Davis looks good at times. It's just, and their defense is really solid. Sauce Gardner, obviously Quentin Williams. Like, you have a lot of good players on that team. It's just, what are you doing at quarterback? That's the main issue for them. But they're a very solid team. Lions, again, they're another. It's weird, but I'm going to put them at 500. I really think they have a chance to go 500 this year. They're 6-7 right now. They just beat the Vikings. When I'm recording this, I don't know, man. I mean, Dan Campbell has some kind of fire lit under them, and they look great. I mean, you have Jared Goff, who really has been solid this year. You have, Jameson Williams just came back from injury. DJ Chark. You have DeAndre Swift. I don't know why I couldn't think of him. You have Jamal Williams. Like, you have a lot of talent on that offense, and you also have Penei Sewell, who's a great offensive lineman. You have a lot of good defensive players, and I really believe that this team in a year or so can really compete for this division. I know it's weird to say, but I think it can happen. Packers, to me, they're actually below average. Take that how you will. They've played better recently, so I'm not going to totally talk crap about them. I don't know that they're going to be 500, though. Gonna be real, I think they might finish a little under 500. To me, they've been below average this whole year. Aaron Rodgers has not looked into the game at all. Their defense has not looked good. Recently, you've had Christian Watson break out as a rookie. Aaron Jones has been okay at times, but to me, they've been a below average team. They're right on that line between 500 and below average for me. Panthers, they are another terrible team. They're just not good. DJ Moore is kind of their only solid player on offense. Now, I will say their defense has looked better, so I'm actually going to put them one tier above just because their defense has looked better recently. That's why I'm going to say that for them. Patriots are kind of your classic 500 team. Their defense is solid, but they really just don't have much on offense. They don't have any vertical weapons, and Mac Jones just really can't get the ball to those weapons, even if you have them. So Raiders are a team that, I'm going to, again, put them here. I might have to move a couple up from 500 just because I don't want to put everybody in this average tier. And there's a couple more on the bubble teams that I'll get to in a second. But Raiders, to me, they've kind of been the definition of average this year. They've had some really low lows this year, and they've also had some really good games. Josh Jacobs has been great. Devontae Adams has been great. Derek Carr is a solid quarterback, and they just have not put it together all the time. The Rams they've been terrible. Like, they actually have been bad. They're 4-9 because of Baker's win. They have been terrible. They have been one team that I'm going to be like, they are bad. Like, they're very bad. Like, even the Panthers, who are now 5-8, have looked better than the Rams have. I'm sorry. Like, the Rams have just looked that bad this year. Nothing about them has looked good. Now, the Ravens are on the bubble. I think if Lamar gets healthy, they will have a shot at getting to the AFC Championship game and even possibly the Super Bowl. I don't predict that they'll get there, because you have three teams above them, the Bengals, Bills, and Chiefs, that I think they would lose to ultimately because their defense just is really young still. When you have Patrick Queen, Kyle Hamilton, like, you have a lot of young players on that defense. It's tough. Marlon Humphrey's a great corner, but I mean, you just don't have a ton. Offensive line's not great. If Lamar's not healthy, they're not on the bubble, but I think he will be for the playoffs. They will make the playoffs. I'm pretty confident in. I mean, right now they're 9-4, so I mean they're right there. They're going to make the playoffs. They might win this division even over the Bengals. It's possible. It's possible for them to win the division, which would help them a lot. But they're on the bubble right now. I think they have a shot, but I wouldn't pick them. Saints have been, dare I say, terrible. I think I do. I think I say terrible. They have not been good. They have won some games shockingly, but they have been bad. They're 4-9. The Falcons have a better record than them, so I'd probably put them here. They've been bad. Nothing has been great about them so far. Alvin Kamara has looked really bad this whole entire year. Seahawks, they're an above average team, which is shocking for me to say that, but they actually are above average team. Sorry. They've looked great. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett has looked really good. Kenneth Walker has looked good, even though he's been injured recently. Geno Smith has just managed the game very well. They have a ton of good rookies and the secondary on their defense, and just a ton of good players on their defense as well. So I put them there. Now, this is where my bias might kick in a little bit. The Steelers right now are 5-8. I don't know that they'll get to 500. I think they won't. But to me, they've shown enough flashes for me not to put them in terrible, because I think they have had moments of being terrible this year, but they also have had moments. Like, you can't deny their receiving core is decent right now. But Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, and Pat Freiermuth, they've all... Now, receiving core, you would probably rank them close to last if you told me that. But they have they're talented receivers. Like, let's not get it twisted here. They have very talented receivers. Offensive line is not great, but it's been better than in years past. Kenny Pickett's a rookie, so it's hard to really judge that. Kind of the same with the Bears. Like, the reason I put the Bears in below average is because they have very similarly to the Steelers, they have a very solid defense. It hasn't always played like that, but they have solid players on their defense. And then you have two quarterbacks that have promise, that have looked good at times. That's why I put the Steelers there. Texans obviously have been terrible. They're the worst team in the league by far. Don't really have to even mention that. They need a whole lot of things. The Titans have been they've been above average. I'm not going to let my recency bias take over. They've been above average. Now, they have not been good recently, but Traylon Burks has been hurt. They've had a lot of other injuries, but the Titans have been above average most of the year. They're probably going to win this division, and I think they have a real chance to knock off a big team in the playoffs. They kind of seem like they're always up there. I'm going to put them there. And the last team, Minnesota Vikings, they are on the bubble for me. I know this isn't even. I don't know that I want to make it even, just because this is kind of all I think are the teams that are up there. I don't think the Dolphins are on the bubble of making a Super Bowl. I just don't see it happening. I just don't. Like, I watched it happen this last week as I'm recording when the Chargers played them. They didn't look close, and that's kind of what I think about that. So for me, this is my Super Bowl bubble. Got the 49ers, the Bengals, the Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles. Then on the bubble, I have the Cowboys, Ravens, and Vikings, and the rest are kind of there. I think if I had to guess right now, my Super Bowl, or let's do my conference predictions. I think it'll be Bills and Chiefs. I don't see the Bengals getting there. I think the Chiefs, if either team played the Bengals, I think it'd be a really good game. But to me, Bills Chiefs seems like. Wait, do I go that direction? I'm actually gonna switch it. I think the Bills and Bengals get back. I think the Bengals get back. The Chiefs losing Tyreek Hill, I think might hurt, and I think I'm going to take the Bengals and Bills. And then obviously, I think the 49ers Eagles will be my conference championship predictions. I think I might have actually picked that when I did my preseason. I think I might have picked 49ers and Eagles back then, which pretty cool if I did that, but we'll see. Yeah, so that's my tier list. I know it's a really long video. I'll shorten it next time when I do it, but yeah. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next Rise of Sports.